In 2020, amongst all the uncertainty and chaos that was going on that year, Disney announced that one of its most popular rides was going to get a retheming. And boy, did that stir up a lot of feelings and debate. 4 years later, and the debating and the hating is still going strong. So much so that I even worried about doing this video just because I didn't want to filter through a bunch of angry comments. But as I've watched all the work and thought that those who have been charged with this mighty task have been putting into this refurb, I've become really excited, and I want to share the reasons why I'm excited today. The thing we have to realize is Splash Mountain was a band-aid and a quick fix to a problem Disneyland had, which was a bunch of open land in Bear Country, an attraction that was, losing its audience, as well as a lack of foot traffic going back to Bear Country. So, Imagineers were tasked with the challenge: make a new ride that fits in that footprint, uses what we already have, and uses ride technology that already exists so it doesn't take too long. And with all of that, Splash Mountain was conceived. And when it opened on July 17th, 1989, it was a huge hit right from the get-go. Now, for people in my generation that grew up in the 80s and the 90s, Splash Mountain is a classic and a have-to ride. But for upcoming generations, it's been less relevant and maybe slightly creepy to them. And when you combine that with the problematic background and history of the music that was used on the ride, Disney decided it was time for a retheming. Now again, I'm quite aware of what people have been complaining about with this ride, but I want to shine some light on the subject and share my reasons why I'm actually super excited for its reopening and the impact it's going to have on the rest of the area as well. So let's get started. The first reason is it's going to be more authentic. I know many were afraid at first that this retheming was just going to be some kind of Tiana sticker on top of Splash Mountain and it wouldn't be very special. But as we've learned more about the Imagineers' trips out to New Orleans and what they're bringing to the parks from those trips, it's very apparent you will be getting a big slice of New Orleans culture with this attraction. We got the first hint of this transition as the French Market turned into Tiana's Palace in 2023. One of the places that Tiana's Palace drew inspiration from was Dookie Chase's, a restaurant that originally was a po' boy sandwich shop in 1939, found in New Orleans, and then turned into a full-blown restaurant in 1941. A restaurant that still exists today and still remains within the family, with its traditional southern dishes, of which you see inspired the Tiana's Palace dishes in a big way. Dookie Chase's was also a place where people would gather for good jazz music, entertainment, art, and it was a place of culture. You could even see Martin Luther King Jr. there discussing politics and other ideas with local leaders over their delicious meals. You can see why it was used as inspiration for what's supposed to be Tiana's established restaurant that is such a success. The storyline for the ride goes that Tiana's Palace was so popular that she is now branching out to an employee-owned co-op, Tiana's Foods. You'll get to learn more about Tiana's Food as you wait in the queue for the ride. I think if you look closely at the details that are in Tiana's Palace, you will find the Easter eggs and the hints you need to connect to the ride. This includes connections to Tabasco sauce, a New Orleans original hot sauce which is farmed and produced on Avery Island, on top of an old salt mine. These salt deposits are what create the large dome that you see on the island, hence the new shape of the exterior of the ride. And since this area isn't known for its towering mountains, this is probably as mountainy as you're going to get for this region. And since Disney has established that Tiana's Foods is built on an old salt mine, as well as the hints to the Tabasco company on all the temporary walls, all of these connections check out and point to Avery Island. Like I mentioned before, the storyline for this ride is basically a continuation of Tiana's story a few years down the line when she's established in her business and a very active member of her community. So as you go down on this ride, you are going on an adventure with Tiana as she looks for ingredients for her party she's throwing for the community for Mardi Gras. This ends up putting not only Tiana's Bayou adventure in the time frame of the 1930s, but it basically solidifies the period for all of New Orleans Square. And with that, you see all of the changes being done around Tiana's Palace and the Haunted Mansion doubling down on that time frame. This means as you walk through New Orleans Square all the way down to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, even down to her outfits in the attraction, and the music that's playing on the streets, you should feel like it's more authentic to the 1930s New Orleans when everything is said and done. And all of these projects in Disneyland are complete.
And an IOU name of a little big box. And it's
The second reason to be excited is there's going to be more nature and there's going to be more color. Okay, so let's be honest for a moment. Splash Mountain did have that overbearing dark look to it, which fit the theming of the ride, of course, but between that and the Haunted Mansion, that area is really dark come nighttime, like can't see where you're going dark. And it kind of turns it into a dead zone, pun intended. Now, if you look at Avery Island and the flora and fauna and the wetlands and the bayous that surround it, and compare it to the 3D concept art, and how much thought Imagineers have put into making it look like real plant life on this ride, and as you can see with what's been teased already, as well as Disney World's version that is taking shape, you can already see so much green and pinks and yellows, bringing a whole new life to this ride. I think the night scene will be a big upgrade as well, with multiple colors glowing out of the opening of the big drop. One can assume this will be where Mama Odie's scene is. Will she tell us to dig a little deeper right before we plunge into the abyss? We'll have to wait and see. You'll also see a lot of color being brought to the exterior queue with New Orleans-inspired paintings. You can see these already taking shape in Disney World. I can't wait to see what they're going to be doing in Disneyland. Again, this will bring a ton of color and something interesting to look at in what used to be a pretty plain space. The third reason is the music. What would a 1940s New Orleans story be without music? And from everything that has been hinted at, music is going to play a very big role in this ride, both inside and even in the queue, with an old-time radio pumping out New Orleans music as you wait to go on the ride. Disney had PJ Morton not only recreating songs from The Princess and the Frog, but also creating a completely new song for the ride as well. I would imagine this new song will be used in the final scene of the attraction when everyone comes together to celebrate. With all of this, PJ mentions the challenge in creating a song that fits in with the existing songs, but still sounds new and fresh and moves the story along. He also mentions Disney trying to be more intentional with bringing a more authentic New Orleans experience through all of these changes, so I can't wait to see what they've created with this. Also, is this Tiana's and Prince Naveen's son found in the concept art? playing the drums with a little Prince sash? It looks like it. And if so, that's really fun and cute. And as I'm putting this video together, it also made me realize how much of a hint Disneyland has been giving us with what's going on in that light show that they've been putting on in the rivers of America called The Heartbeat of New Orleans. And I can't decide if the missing ingredient in the ride will be music or something to do with like friendship or community. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Where's the music? Little Frog asked himself. But then Little Frog realized something. Even on his lily pad with his firefly friends, the heartbeat of New Orleans wasn't so far away. Why, it wasn't far at all.
Next, I would expect new smells being pumped into this ride with how much Disney has mentioned your senses so much already in their preparation for this ride, and with how much they've already used that technology in other rides. And as you see in the models, you will be passing through farms of hot peppers, and you're looking for missing ingredients, so I can't see why they wouldn't include smells of like peppers or beignets, stuff like that into this ride. I also think that there will be more, or at least new food and flavors that will be incorporated in the area around this ride. I mean, how could they spend half the ride talking about ingredients and food to then turn around and say, hey, if you want that food, you'll have to go way over there? And I'm not gonna lie, with the whole connection to Tabasco and I don't know, just Southern food in general, I would be disappointed if there wasn't more of a food extension from this. Of course, we need to talk about what we know about all of the new technology that will be added to the attraction. Disney has mentioned that there will be multiple new Tiana animatronics added to the ride that are using Disney's newest animatronic technology, including one that will address you personally. Now, will that be in the ride itself, or is that what all these teeny tiny people are waving at? I don't know. Something else that has been thrown out there is some kind of a mist technology, which I wonder if it will be something that you'll see projected on mist as you're going down the hill, or maybe right before you drop. I guess we'll have to wait and see for those answers. But for now, we'll have to keep speculating until all of our answers are filled and we've all gotten back into that log and gotten our socks wet. Until then, you may need to busy yourself with more of my videos like this one on the right hand of your screen. Thank you for watching and take care.